The following podcast contains opinions from paid professionals. The information provided in this podcast is general in nature and not advice. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
So we think, episode 9, and it's the big one. It is the giant weekend that is Tab Everest weekend, along with the King Charles III and Caulfield Cup weekend. I'm excited, Benway.
What else are you doing?
What do you mean?
Well, something's a little different to what it normally is.
I'm wearing a cap.
You look like an extra on Home and Away.
I was at track work at Warwick Farm this
Yep.
morning and I was wearing a beanie because it was a little chilly, but also I couldn't be bothered doing my hair, and I've come straight here, and believe me, if I were to whip this thing off, I'd look like Sunshine in Paris first up in the Scirocco.
So who were you, a little fluffy, so who were you chatting to? Chatted to Annabelle Neesham?
Yeah, I went to speak with Annabelle and got a look at Sunshine in Paris. She obviously just had a very easy time of it this morning, but it was great to see her up close and personal. If you saw her first up, she was furry. She has dropped that winter coat. She looks a treat, and she's a very sassy mare, shall we say, and that was on full display this morning. She's bursting out of her skin. She's ready to go. So that was exciting. But also, I mean, it was a busy morning out there. I had a chat to Kieran Maher. He had an eye on Pride of Jenny and Growing Empire, who Kieran McAvoy actually came out to ride this morning. So he's, I'm guessing, done a fair bit of work on him in the last few days. Saw Private Eye trotting round. Saw Steffi Magnetica. They were all there. They were all there with the final bit of polish being applied before the Everest.
And we're talking $6 the field, and it could be $7 the field come jump, and all of them are going into the race pretty confident. So it's the build-up we all hoped for. There are a stack of Everest chances in the Sydney Stakes as well. So it is a deep card, a deep card.
We'll get into the Everest to begin with because it's the race that captures headlines both here and worldwide. $20 million, Group 1, inverted commas. Okay, so
is it
I'm confused. I mean, I'm going to count it as a Group 1 on the weekend because that's what Racing Australia has essentially told us to do, but there obviously has been conjecture this week with international authorities whether it's a Group 1. What do I do? What do I do in my job?
I mean, we treat it as a Group 1.
Okay.
I guess. But then from a breeding standpoint, I do wonder whether, you know, your Godolphins and your Coolmores and that, whether they may have reassessed had they suspected it wouldn't be officially recognised as a Group 1. The answer is it probably wouldn't, because in most of our eyes, and I think the world, it is seen as a pinnacle event. And from a prize money standpoint, I mean, that's important too from a breeding aspect. If a horse wins X amount of million, that's recognised. So, it's a little blurry from a world perspective and a breeding perspective, but we'll treat it as a Group 1.
I think so. And, I mean, look at Yes. He's a very viable stallion going forward and a winner of the Everest. So I think for all intents and purposes, it is a Group 1 in my eyes. But I think there's 9 that can win it in that field.
Wait a minute. That leaves 3 that can't.
Yeah, there's 3 that I don't think can.
So who are the 3 that can't?
I think Lady of Camelot's going to struggle to win it just off the back of her last run and the gate. I caught up with Rachel King earlier in this week, and they're going to ride her with a sit, which I find fascinating. I would be surprised if I Am Me continued her rapid rise to Everest success. Don't get me wrong. She's had a faultless preparation. But up to 1,200 in a high-pressure race, which probably races more like 1,300 metres, that would surprise me. And the other one, sadly now, is maybe Bella Nipotina from that really wide gate as well.
I had her right at the pointy end, but I agree it probably quells her chances. And there is a bit more speed. We talked about a lack of speed. There's probably a bit more than we'd anticipated. I Am Me, I agree, I don't think is maybe that top tier that you need to be, but from a map perspective,
all faders.
Fantastic run, probably leaders back. I thought with Lady of Camelot, if you showed any positional speed, and she hasn't been the cleanest out of the gates this prep, but if she showed positional speed, why couldn't you go forward and then have Stormboy cross you and you get the trail? I am a little surprised that they're so keen to go back. Traffic Warden was the other huge winner.
Massive.
Map-wise.
Yeah.
Like, you're essentially looking 1-1 or maybe 2 pairs back, 1 off, which is a great result. And I don't know about the Yulong Colt I think it maps well. It's just a matter of whether it's all come that maybe 1 year or prep too early, but he's a talent, no doubt.
Yeah. Sunshine in Paris have no problems with her gait. She's in 8. I think if she jumps cleanly, she can settle 3 pairs back off the fence with cover. I think that would be a great position for her to be in so that she can have clearer air to rattle home and not leave her run too late. I Wish I Win. He's going to be out the back hanging out there until the whips are cracking and the paces come out of the race when it's just been too hot up front. Look, it's a cracking race. I think in terms of a storyline, Private Eye would be one. He's placed in the last 2. That would be a remarkable feat to come.
How about the double dagger of the barriers there? Private Eye and Think About It in those respective races.
Yeah.
The barriers really hurt Private Eye's chances because he was one that I thought could capitalise on, a moderate-ish speed or even an average speed. I know that he is probably more your sort of 1,300 metre plus, but he's run bottlers in the 1,200 in the Everest before. But he sort of had enough positional speed that he could have been 1 or 2 pairs back, 1 off, whereas now the gate forces him probably 2 extra pairs back. And I don't know. There are better closers than him, I think, from back there.
Yeah.
It's that was probably the one because he was sitting at around $21, $26, forgotten. He's still around the same price, but I've just lost it a bit. Story-wise, I reckon Giga Kick's the story.
Huge. That would be mammoth to come back and win an Everest after everything that he's been through.
And he's openly said that he's never, and I speak of Clayton Douglas here, not the horse, he's never had to do this. He's never had a horse off the scene for a year. He's never had a headline act of this nature that he's had to bring back from, the depths of despair to try and win an Everest. So he would just be such a great story, the horse and trainer, if he could do it. And I still think he can. I'm still a believer while a few have sort of fallen off.
Do you know what? I think he can too, and it's because of the fact, first up, sorry, and this is all yard watch stuff, he was big. He was tubby.
Right.
Second up, he had improved a lot, but even you still saw him and you were like, you could use one more. You could use one more really to tighten up. He's a bigger version of himself this preparation than he was. Like he's grown, there's a lot of muscle on him now. But even after that, in the yard before the second up run, you looked at him, you're like, well, you could use one more. And he did blow in the market as a result as soon as he stepped into the yard. Same thing happened for his first up run. Third up, peaks, strips fitter. You do get the feeling that he could be peaking towards something.
You do. And you know what? Hats off, your hat off, to the connections because really he's the one that could have missed out and maybe should have missed out because it was either he or Think About It really for that spot. And it was only the negotiations that have got him in there. So now he's a chance and we'll get to see. I've mentioned a few times, I think it is a shame that the reigning champion's not there. But, we do have a hot Sydney Stakes as a result. And the other one that I guess should have been in, all things being equal, is Switzerland, who unfortunately is heading in a different direction, but we've discussed that already. You know what, we haven't even touched on the favourite. Well, she will probably be favourite come start time on Saturday in Jolie Star. So yes,
like this is how open this is. We haven't even touched on the favourite.
Yeah, I know. We were talking about it on track yesterday, and I haven't been as much of a believer because of last start.
Yeah.
But if you listen to everyone, and I'm not just talking about the connections of that horse, I'm talking about jockeys of rival horses, trainers of rival horses. They're all saying if the Jolie Star rocks up, they might be running for second, which I just find remarkable. I've said this a million times over lead-up races or other races through the spring. I hope they're right. I hope we see a superstar because at the moment it looks like a blanket finish. So if we had just this new pin-up girl as a result of the Everest, that'd be a great
she's
story.
already Group 1 winner.
Yeah.
And you look at her record and it's her and Steffi Magnetica are those and I said this on the podcast on Monday as well. They're like they're progressive mares. Like, even though they're not going through the grades, like they've achieved the greatest honour in racing, having won a Group 1, but you feel like they could have very long and fruitful Group 1 careers going forward. So, I mean, she won 1,000 guineas, but she's yet to win an open age, weight for age Group 1.
And it's a big difference.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
So you'd love to see her do it.
I wish Owen's Jock could be a good story too.
Yeah. He's a character, isn't he?
Yeah, because it's just been there's been a bit of a roller coaster with that horse.
I mean, he rode him during the Brisbane Carnival, or portion of the Brisbane Carnival, and got the job done. But he's got a great association with Moods, and not sure about relationship with owner, but he's got a great relationship with the horse. And so, yes, that would be a great story too. Okay, final word on the Everest. Who wins?
Oh, I think Annabelle does.
Yeah, I do too.
Annabelle and Rob win.
Yep.
She's just the one where others have had to earn their spot into the Everest. She's been plan A, tick the box early, had a slot, gets into it, lots of improvement. I think we'll see the best of her.
Everything you just said. Everything you just said. I love that she's been set for it. I even said to Annabelle this morning, and she goes, I was a bit embarrassed taking her to the races first up the way she looked because she was so fluffy. And I said, I actually don't mind it because everyone got to see that she would take, especially with what she did on the track, she was going to take massive improvement from that. They didn't have to try and jam another run into her. They had it all planned out that she was going to race fresh, so that there was no panic about an audition to get a slot.
No.
So and having seen her this morning, like, she doesn't look like the same horse. Completely different horse now.
And the perplexing part to it is that when she won the same lead-up race the year before, she was then favourite off the back of that, whereas the market didn't react this time. And I would argue that edition of the Everest was stronger, or at bare minimum had bigger names in it than this one. So, yeah. Anyway, we've got a couple of mountains to climb, that and the Kosciuszko. We'll touch on the Kosciuszko later, but the King Charles. Are we going to see the King on Saturday?
I hope so, because it would just add an extra element to it, that what is already a wild day at Randwick. I mean, it's sold out now. They're expecting 50,000 people on track. Sunny skies, 27 degrees. Like, you can feel that it's going to be a high energy, exciting day. And then if King Charles and Queen Camilla were to turn up, like, it would just feel very, very cool. So I do hope he's there. I don't think he'll be there, or he obviously won't be there in an official capacity, would be on his official itinerary. But I would love if someone, probably Sir Peter, were to chat him into, do you want to come and present the trophy for the King Charles? Like, we've got the trophy. You want to come do it?
It won't happen, but you're out the front, right? And you get to do a lot of the interviews. So pretend I'm the king, right? Which is easy.
Do you bow or curtsy?
So that's what I want to see. Hey, Emma, I love your work. I'm King Charles.
Yeah, hi, King.
I was pretty keen for a chat. Do you want to do it? Yep, sweet. Bring the camera over.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Goodness, I'm probably asking him for a tip.
Right.
Wouldn't that be wild?
It would.
Can you imagine getting a tip for the Everest or the King Charles III from the King?
I think he'd be a front runner. I think he'd be Jenny. He'd have to be Jenny. She's the headline act, apart from the King himself. She's the headline act.
Absolutely.
On Everest Day. And I don't say that lightly.
No, thank God she's in that race, because it just adds so much intrigue. And I love that it's late in the day, 5:35. Like, the energy, as I said, it's going to be real sky high. And then we have the Everest, we have the Silver Eagle, and then we have the King Charles III. So we know what she'll be doing. She'll be bowling along out in front. She's the big story because she's great for racing. We love her racing pattern. We love how fans get around her. Do we feel that Major Beale, who is right there up on speed, is the towing horse?
She's the problem. She's the problem for Jenny, because she brings the rest of them into it. And that is a big concern. There are two aspects to it. One, I feel as though people have forgotten that the Queen Elizabeth isn't over the same trip.
I agree. And people going, oh, she'll be 30 lengths in front. Well, no, she won't, because it's over a mile.
Yeah, no. So I'm definitely not saying she's not the winner. I think she'll be exceptionally tough to beat. And she probably is, if you raced all of these horses against no other horses over that trip, she probably gets from point A to point B the fastest, doing all her own work, right? But that's not how racing works. And Fangirl has a very different equation to Via Sistina, I think, because Via Sistina actually probably is capable of chasing Jenny. I don't think Fangirl is.
No.
But Via Sistina didn't have anyone to tow her in, and Fangirl probably will.
She will because, I mean, James McDonald has been very public in her last big win. The two words he used were one-dimensional. She's one-dimensional. She has to sit back at the back of the pack. You have to ride her stone cold and then hope that there's enough tempo in the race for her to show that electric turn of foot around the outside, not ducking and weaving between runners. She's best when she's got clear air and she can just motor. So she will have horses to bring her into the race. It's just who's the catalyst? Who's the first one chasing?
Well,
so I think it probably is
it has
Major
to
Beale.
probably be Major Beale. Lions Roar, they could
Zugotcha?
throw a spanner in. I don't know whether there's the positional speed for Zugotcha. There's probably there might be, I don't even know if there is the sustained sprint there. She's very good, but I think it'd be Major Beale, Lions Roar. Oh, beyond that, maybe Pericles might be one that is sort of in that first four that will have to do a little bit of the chasing. But the other thing is, it's not just Fangirl that's getting a drag into it. If they do drag her into it, you've got
Wolf,
Celestial Legend.
Yeah.
You know, they're all capable of a strong sprint. So if they do all get a nice tow, and maybe she doesn't run to her best, there'll be fireworks late. And I'm not discounting Celestial. I really think he's a legitimate chance. He reeks of a giga kick. Yeah, blinkers on, mind on. Les has said openly, these aren't grand finals. What's the problem? I know that the Golden Eagle is one, but he'll be cherry ripe.
Oh, gosh, it's tantalising. Okay. Who are you with? I mean, you've got...
I think Jenny's the most likely winner, but
Yes.
Celestial is
Okay.
my bet in the race, given he was double figures, and I think he's a good chance.
All I hope for in the end is that we have got a ripping tight finish. We know Jenny will be in the finish. I want to see Fangirl rattling home because she's a spectacle herself. The way that she has that turn of speed at the end of her races, like it's great to see her in full flight.
Even the colours make
Correct.
her exciting to watch. Yeah.
I just like to see them really fighting it out in the end. Of course, we'd love to see Amelia's Jewel be really competitive in a race like this. Saw her this morning. She's not big.
No.
She's a little thing.
I don't think she's up to them.
No, I tend to agree with you, but my one hope is that we get a classic Pride of Jenny Fangirl real tussle at the end. I'd love it to be a photo finish. I really would.
Race in 4, I reckon.
Yep.
Jenny up on speed, Fangirl and Celestial flooding home, and Chaya Wolf somewhere in between.
And then the king presenting the trophy.
Yeah. That'd be good fun.
Wouldn't it just? Okay.
Great theatre. The
So-
other mountain?
Well, this is one that you're going to be all across. You love the Kosciuszko. You love the concept.
I know, but this one I'm going to be a touch boring because I just think it's front pages to lose.
Yeah.
Best horse.
Fresh record is unbelievable.
Best horse, no reason to question it. Track will be ideal, I think. The biggest issue with front page the past few years has always been whether you get to the track or not, because there's a few body
Niggles.
issues there. But beyond that, best horse in the race wins. Is there anyone that you think sort of shown upside, one that could burst out that?
There's a couple. The map's interesting for me. So Elson Boy will be right there up on speed. Front page, we've seen him do that in the past, but in that trial, we've seen him take a sit,
Yeah.
meaning probably just leaders back.
That just says to me, have the option.
Correct, which I
Yeah.
love the versatility there. Gallant Star, I love him as a horse. I think he could do something far too easy. He's twice placed in the event, so he obviously will be ready come Saturday. The other one at odds that I don't mind is Tanglewood.
Yep.
Loved his win first up, and his style, get back, run on. He needs hot pace. He needs big tempo. And when it comes to a big field like this, 14 runners, 1,200 metres, Randwick, high pressure, a lot of noise, lots going on. He's going to get that. So I could see him rattling home. He's my each way play in the race.
Yeah, I guess the concern with those horses, as we've seen in the past, is that they can't keep up with front page. So you get gapped, and then it's whether you can close it. I don't mind Tanglewood, but I do think if something's closing far too easy, would be that horse. Where do you line up a horse like an Escada?
She needs it really wet, doesn't she? So she was brilliant in the Country Championships final during the autumn. She was the last picked for the Kosciuszko, which was interesting because I would have thought she would have been first port of call.
Yeah, you kind of do marry up the two races and think, well, if you've won one, you're probably a contender in the other.
So only one horse has won both in Art Cadeau, correct? I think.
Yeah.
So she's an interesting mare. She's another one who can flash home late, but she would need more than the 7 mils of rain predicted on Friday to be a chance in it, I think.
Yeah. We've all been looking at the forecast. Some are saying sort of 1 to 5. I think the Bureau had a peak of 10 potentially on the Friday, but Saturday is meant to be a peach as well.
It'll be a 5.
Will be low level soft range or even top of good, but I think a soft 5's the likely bet.
I think it will be perfect. That amount of rain we had earlier in the week, thank goodness it was Monday, Tuesday, because it's dried out beautifully now. It just prevents Michael Wood and the track team from putting any irrigation on it. They're just going to hold fire. Of course they are. They don't need to do anything to it. But if they got like 5 to 7 mils, perfect deck, I reckon.
Well, we may well get
Absolutely perfect deck.
It is I just want to mention on the Kosciuszko, of all the races, and the Everest will get the headline, and the King Charles has obviously got the headline act. But I do think the Kosciuszko concept-wise has brought everyone together. It is brilliant. And the general public, I think it's cracked through with them as well.
It's taken a bit of time to understand the concept,
They don't necessarily know any of the horses.
Yeah.
But they are happy to go and cheer for their region. And that we see that a lot through STC, through interviews and that sort of thing. It's like, oh, I'm following the Wagga horse, or I'm following the horse from down south, or I'm following the horse from the back of Burke, or whatever. You know, that's kind of been the storyline, whether it be for the Kosciuszko or the Country Championships.
Good to see some of those country jocks getting an opportunity as well. Digger McClellan, Billy Owen, Nick Haywood, and Sam Collett comes down from Brisbane to ride at Wits End as well.
Yeah, some people have said that it should always be
Country jocks.
Country jockeys, but let's bear in mind quite a few of these city jockeys have actually headed off to ride these horses to come back, and we have other meetings on the day. So if every country jock that was aligned with horses came for this one race,
It'd be dry out there,
and every city jock stayed for the remaining races, we've got nothing else.
Yeah.
So I love the loyalty. I think they will all ride magnificently. The depth across New South Wales is fantastic, and I agree it's brilliant they get the opportunity. But
how would you feel if you were Tyler Schiller?
You can't feel aggrieved because it was his call. I think he made the right call with the wrong result. You don't get many chances to ride a Caulfield Cup favourite. Faulkner Park has been very good to him, and he made that decision. But now that Faulkner Park has had a hiccup and changed its plan, so it's big dance.
Apparently?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, either way, he's now lost the ride on front page.
He will be in Sydney though. Yeah.
But we made the point. These are it's easy to hate on James and say, oh, I wish Tyler was on front page. As we discussed on this podcast, James was meant to ride front page the first year, only for the horse to break down and he's left with no ride. Now it's won a couple. Like Tyler made the most of that opportunity. He got to win a couple, and now James is back on. So it is the world goes around.
Knowing Tyler, he has the most incredible brain on him that he's just, here's what it is. That's okay. No problems. Like he would have forgotten about it, but there would no doubt deep inside, if front page were to win his third Cosy, there would be surely, and he wouldn't externalise it, like he wouldn't, but you'd feel a bit, oh God, that just, the world works in weird ways. Like,
but
how's that?
It's easy in hindsight, but would you have made the same decision?
Of course
as
you
him?
would have.
Yeah.
And like he just would have just been like, the world's just a weird place, how this is all panned out.
Yeah.
Can't do anything about it. I've done nothing wrong. No one's done anything wrong. It's just weird how it's panned out.
I mean, look at Celestial Legend. Karen can't ride that way. Tyler can. Breakthrough win of his career.
Swings and roundabouts, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've gone through the big Sydney races, and the support cards, excellent alongside the Everest, the Sydney Stakes, the Kosciuszko, the King Charles III. Down in Melbourne, the Caulfield Cup. top weight of, is it 55 and a half?
Yeah, with Calipor.
Yeah.
That tells you everything you need to know about the race. I'm not hating on it. I'm going to look forward to the Caulfield Cup like everybody else and like I have every year for every year I've known about racing, since about 6 probably, when Dad would have been watching it. But it's not a vintage edition. There are some really good chances in it. I think Buckaroo has been absolutely fantastic the past couple of preparations. Elias looks in its race up to its eyeballs. There are a couple for Kieran Maher that I talked to him yesterday about their chances. He thinks the Duke is just running enormously. He thinks Circle of Fire is going to start to sprout wings soon.
Sadati.
Yeah, he did touch on that galloper, and I was hesitant to say it to him, so he had to say it to me.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's a tough one.
But he didn't rule it out as a chance.
Got form behind like City of Troy overseas.
So it's not like you can't find betting angles. From that aspect, it's quite exciting and interesting, but you just don't have a headline act.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? Like Faulkner Park would have definitely added some star power, even though he's not.
Well, a few starts ago, he's Albury Gold Cup.
Yeah, I know. He's not a Group 1 star, but you got the feeling he was really, he is very progressive as a stayer going forward. I like Elias. I think he can turn the tables over the 2,400 metres on Buckaroo. I love how early on in the horses' prep, they pivoted and go, well, actually, you know what? Caulfield Cup, let's rejig and move the chess pieces around on the board so that we have the ultimate preparation leading up into the Caulfield Cup. And to be honest as well, we've got to wait to see how that track is on Saturday. Rail was out 12 metres yesterday. Are we back in the true
so it's
Saturday?
Yeah, so on the track, the more I've thought about it, it's going to be discussed a lot. There are trainers in Sydney that refuse to send horses to Caulfield. Now, it's not because it's bias. It's because some horses just don't handle it. And I know they're not in any way comparable, but the Kenzo track in Sydney is kind of like that. Some horses love it and some horses do not go a yard on it. You can't really explain it, but jarring seems to be the issue at Caulfield. If it's any firmer than, say, a good 4 down, there are horses that have been on, maybe spongier tracks in Sydney that go there and they just pull up terribly. So it's actually not about even how they race, it's about how they're recovering from racing there. The more I think about it, the more I think horses last week just didn't handle the firmness.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that. So Deny Knowledge on the quick backup, she obviously gets around Caulfield and she was bowling out there out in front. So for her to be on the backup, she's at about $11, $12, I think, at the moment. Why can't she do something?
Well, the other aspect is not every track needs to suit every horse. And I don't necessarily have a drama with sometimes a track being quite hard and firm and fast, as long as it's safe. And just like I don't have an issue with, midwinter, wetties getting their chance. The best horses don't win every race. The best horses can adapt, but sometimes it's just horses for courses. That'd be a good name for a show.
Yeah, don't mention the war.
Right.
Final thoughts on both cards. You got a best bet or something that you're just ultra excited to see?
You know what I'm going to say, don't you?
Zardozi?
No. No. Although I do, we probably didn't touch on her enough.
I mean,
she was fantastic.
She was brilliant. She was back to her best in that Metrop. And
I do love her.
You do love her. She's one of yours.
No, I was going to say 7 p.m, Thursday nights, Black Bookers. By then, it's been thorough. I'm also doing a show on Fox Sports News. They're going to do a special.
Oh, you're doing that tonight?
Yeah, Lewis Willoughby is going to join me. And,
what time's that on?
Eloise Sawyer. It's after 8. I think it might be 8:30.
Okay.
8:30 p.m. for anyone who's keen to check it out. So we'll go through runner by runner on the Everest. I just don't want to say, hey, here's my best bet until I'm, very in depth. And Wednesday is a big day for me. Thursday morning's a tough time to do the podcast because I've got race day all day. Okay. I can have a vague
Excuses. That's all I'm hearing.
Well, I just don't want to mislead anyone.
All right.
What do you like?
I like Sunshine in Paris and the Everest. I am going to have an each-way play on Tanglewood in the Kosciuszko. I won't bet into the King Charles because both the horses that I like they're short and I think it could go either way. Like I'm unsure as to how it will play out, so I'm not confident.
I'm a degenerate, right? But I can honestly sit and watch that race without. I may bet, but I can't. I can sit and watch that race without a bet.
100%.
And thoroughly enjoy it.
Me too. Yeah. So I'm going to stay out of that. And in the Caulfield Cup, look, I could have a number each way. I could have Deny Knowledge, Elias, and Zardozi probably each way in that. I reckon Buckaroo will be right in the finish as well.
Okay, so to tie it all in a knot, we've discussed a few storylines. What's the one story you want to see from Saturday?
The one story I do want to see is Sunshine in Paris, first medal in the Everest. Annabelle, first female trainer to win the Everest. Rob Archibald winning his first Group 1 in the Everest. And Tommy Berry's story of redemption complete with a Group 1 victory. He hasn't won one in 2 years. That's the story I want.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'll say I want front page for the hat trick, but I think I need Jenny to at least give us something.
Give us strength.
She doesn't need to win, but she needs to give us an almighty sight so that the fans get what they want and we now steam into a Cox plate just thinking how effing good is this going to be.
You and Ali, your language.
Sorry. Yeah, I get it from her.
Fantastic. We will be back on Monday to wrap up everything from Everest Day and Caulfield Cup Day. We'll be on a come down, I suggest, after a massive weekend, and definitely going to try and have a couple of beverages Saturday night to decompress.
And do your hair.
And I need to do my hair. I will definitely do that before Saturday. Hey, enjoy what is, I think, the best day of racing anywhere across the country this year. Yeah. We'll see you back here on Monday.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.